Hi friends, this is Guy, the Gentle Chef, and today I'm going to be demonstrating how to wrap a seitan roast using aluminum foil. I'm also going to, before I wrap the roast, I'm also going to show you how to do the sausage. I thought it would be good to cover both techniques in one video. So anyway, I've got my dough already mixed up, and the tricky part about wrapping a seitan roast is there's a significant amount of liquid in the dough. And the reason there's so much liquid in the dough is because if you're cooking seitan the traditional way and you're simmering it on the stove, the gluten absorbs the broth, and this is what makes the seitan nice and moist and tender. When you're cooking a roast, it's in a confined package. There's nowhere for the gluten to draw moisture from, so you have to include the liquid into the dough before you bake it. And this way, it doesn't come out like bread. It comes out really moist and, pardon the expression, meaty. So that's the reason why it's very soft, but it can also make it very tricky to wrap. And until you get a lot of practice in and get the technique down, it can be a little hard to do. And as much as I can describe it in detail in the book, sometimes it's just easier to show you exactly on video. And I've had a lot of requests for how to do this. Another point, you really want to use a very heavy-duty quality foil, such as Reynolds Wrap. It's very strong, and you get what you pay for with foil. If you get a generic brand and you're saving some money on it, and it says heavy-duty on it, there's a good chance that it's really not heavy-duty. It may say that on the label, but it's really not. And you really want a strong foil, because what's happening during the baking process is there's two things happening. The gluten begins to expand, it doubles in size. And the package kind of confines it, it compresses it down as it doubles. And also a lot of steam is generated. And when you have steam generated, it's going to look for the weakest spot of escape, and that's going to be in your foil, wherever you have a weak point. So you really want a strong foil so it doesn't rupture while it's baking. And it's just going to make it a lot safer. You don't want an explosion in your oven. It's happened to me before when making pepperoni. And it's just a big mess to clean up, plus a lot of wasted product. So before I even do the sausage, I'm going to set this aside for a second. One word on the pepperoni. Very easy tip is the pepperonis are very long, because they're basically a long sausage. And if you put it on the foil like this, you're not going to have a lot of room on the ends for rolling and for twisting the ends. So all you have to do is just turn it the other way. And this gives you, I'm using 18-inch wide foil. So I guess, yeah, the 18 inches wide is right here. So you're taking the length of the foil right here and using it as the width for when you're wrapping the pepperoni. This gives you a lot of room on the ends for twisting. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and do a sausage first, and they're relatively easy to wrap. The sausage dough pretty much has a lot of liquid in it too. It's because you want the sausage to come out to have a nice moist texture. So with that, you're already going to have the dough divided in the bowl. So I'm just going to tear a piece off of I'm making a gyro roast today just because I'm craving a gyro roast. So I'm going to you roll it into a ball first, and then you kind of just roll it between your hands, and you kind of want to just form it into a rough sausage shape. Now you don't have to be too perfect with this, because what's going to happen, it's going to span inside the foil, so the foil is going to do the work for you. It's going to shape it for you. So you just get a rough sausage shape. Wipe my hands off on a paper towel here. When you're working with the dough and you're wrapping, always keep a moist paper towel nearby, because your hands get really wet. So you set it on the foil like this, and you lift the foil over, and you wrap it like a Tootsie Roll. These are relatively easy. You can wrap them very, very quickly once you get the hang of it. And you want to pinch on the ends here, and then you want to twist from the outside inward. And that helps keep from rupturing the foil right at this twist point right here. It can still happen, and I'll show you what to do if that happens. It's more of a concern when you're doing a roast. I've never had a problem with the sausages a sausage explosion in the steamer. I don't know why, it just has never happened. You just want to twist the ends. Now, if your steamer is if you're making a lot of sausage and your steamer's crowded, you can always bend these ends inward, and it seals the package even better too. And there you go. Got a sausage ready for the steamer. You just put them in there, you steam them for the recommended amount of time, and you're good to go. So back to the roast. We got our foil laid out, and I use a relatively large piece of foil. You don't want to be chintzy on the foil because you really want to make sure the dough is sealed inside there. You want to mix your dough really well. You want to develop the elasticity, make sure as much of the liquid is absorbed as possible. Even let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes after you mix it to help it make sure it's absorbed all that liquid. Now, in some cases for like the chicken roast and the turkey roast, you might find a little bit of liquid still in the bottom of the bowl, and that's perfectly normal. You really want the dough to be at saturation. And that's what's going to give it the wonderful texture. I think some people might think, well, I'm just going to reduce the amount of liquid. It's going to make it a lot easier to wrap. Well, we're not making bread here. We're making a roast, and we want it to have that moisture. Okay, let me just wipe my hands real quick. So you basically just form it into a mass on the foil. And you want to work quickly when you start wrapping, because what happens is the dough is going to have a tendency to want to spread out. So you have to have quick movements. Now, the Euro roast doesn't have quite as much liquid in it as the chicken or turkey roast. But since I'm using it for demonstrations, it'll have to suit our purpose. So you get into a mass, and what you want to do, you use the foil, lift it over, if you can see that, and immediately, quickly pinch down on the sides. And that's going to confine it inside the foil. You don't want it to spread out. And I've seen some pictures of people wrapping the roast and they end up coming out looking like a long bologna. And that's fine if you're not really into the aesthetic value of it. But it just looks nicer for a presentation on the table if you've got a nice compact roast. It also makes it easier or better if you put it on an electric slicer and slicing it for deli slices, because you get the nice uniform slices. And they're perfect for, for bread. And then you just start rolling. And be careful as you're pitching down on the side, because you don't want to rupture the foil there. If you do, it's no big deal. You just rewrap with another piece of foil. And then you just kind of want to carefully pinch the foil and then start twisting. And I did it fairly slow so you could see the process. And once you get the hang of it, it's like I said, fast movements are better because it doesn't give a chance for the dough to spread out. You have to work quick. Okay, and we have it wrapped. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put it in another piece of foil, just to make sure. Because like I said, you don't want this to explode. And if there's any doubt, wrap it in a third piece of foil. You're recycling the foil anyway. When you think about it, the foil it's really not that much aluminum. It's very paper thin. So better safe than sorry. And you just twist the ends real tight. And you might want to examine as you make sure you didn't have any tears or anything, because if you have any tears, you want to rewrap it again, because that steam is going to find any little failure right there. All right. And then what I usually do, or what I always do, I use a little baking dish. And I just set it kind of diagonally in it, and it sort of supports it, so that I don't have to turn it over in the oven after an hour. So then you bake it in the oven for 2 hours. After it's done, you let it cool enough, and don't open the package until it's cool completely. And then you can either refrigerate it, which I recommend, because it really it adds to the texture. It really firms up the roast and gives it a really nice texture. Or you can pan glaze it immediately and serve it. Just whatever is convenient for you. And there you go. That's how you wrap a seitan roast. Good luck.